Today in episode 71 of the podcast, we will be reviewing Mr. Sandman and episodes 7 through 9 of Andor Season 2. I'm Brad, he's Josh, and this is We'll Bring the Popcorn.
Before we jump into our reviews this week, please don't forget to give us a like and subscription on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you're getting our episodes when they drop each and every Monday. If you're listening to us in the audio room, please don't forget to give us a 5-star review. It really helps elevate the profile of the show. And as always, go to willbringthepopcorn.com where you can get access to our archive videos, our social media information, as well as our merch store so you continue to support the show in that way. We can't thank you enough for your continued support.
So the news was a little bit light this week. We got some release dates and some other things, but nothing to really have a big discussion on. We did get word that the Thunderbolts director might be going to direct the X-Men film, but past that, we're kind of just going to skip the news and head right into our review this week. Now, we were supposed to have an interview with the director of the film we're reviewing this week, Matthew I. Schmidt, but unfortunately, during the recording, we had nothing but technical issues. When I got the footage and everything back, it was just all... The camera footage was upside down and the audio was broken. So we apologize to Matthew on that, but he was really understanding. We will be rescheduling that interview for another time. But today we will be reviewing his film, Mr. Sandman. So this is a independent short horror film that he did. It's all about a young girl named Zoe who's dealing with her fears. And of course, being a girl dad, I connected with a lot of this stuff here because a young kid's imagination can just run absolutely wild. So she's staying up late watching a classic film with her mom and grandma, and then her mom goes to bed and the grandma gives her a warning. If she stays up too late, Mr. Sandman is going to come for her. And, you know, all the bad little boys and girls who stay up too late when their parents tell them to go to bed, they're going to come and take you away.
Ominous grandma, man. Ominous grandma. It's never a good sign for any horror film. But yeah, we go on this adventure with Zoe, who, you know, winds up going to bed and laying down, and then you have a bunch of shenanigans that happen throughout the night. Her imagination gets the best of her. She starts to see, you know, this dark, shadowy image that really scares her, and you go on this journey throughout the night of, you know, her interaction with Mr. Sandman, and it's a really interesting take on, you know, this type of, you know, psychological horror is what I would call it more than anything. Like they have a couple little jump scares in it, but it's more about the psychological aspects of your mind playing tricks on you in the night and how you know, your interpretation of what you see versus what's actually happening kind of thing. It's a really interesting take on it. One of the things I really liked about this film is the intense use of sound throughout the film to kind of build tension and build suspense. You get a real heavy emphasis on, like, you know, creaking chairs and floorboards and, you know, ambiance and all this other stuff that, you know, they do a really good job of presenting and kind of helping build that tension throughout this entire film. It's one of the things that really stood out to me.
Yeah, and I do like, you can really relate to Zoe because I think all of us has felt the feeling that she goes through, especially like, you know, she gets up off the couch and she goes over the stairs and it's like, oh, it's dark at the top of the stairs. I can't see what's going on. Flip the light on, see what's there, and then hurry up and run as fast as you can up there. Like you're dodging in and out because you think something's going to be there. Because I remember when I was younger, and it always happened around Halloween, like we had this really long hallway that the light switch was actually on the far end of the hallway. We didn't have one that worked up at the front. So if you wanted to turn the light on in the hallway to get to the bedrooms, you had to walk all the way to the hallway. And I would look down and I always felt like something was there watching me and creeping on me and stuff. And you got that feeling from here. But I do agree with you. The use of sound was really good. And here it built the tension up really slowly. So it took its time to really set up and get you to feel kind of what she was feeling, to get that dread and that sense of her imagination just going wild and crazy and what really happens. Because in my youngest, she has such a vivid imagination when things happen. Like, she will have nightmares and other things just because her mind is just going and coming up with so many different scenarios and things that could happen based on if a door is open, if she heard a sound, if she heard this, or she saw footsteps underneath her door or something like that. You can really relate to what she's going to. So being a girl dad, I definitely related a lot to seeing that from my youngest through Zoe as she was going through this. But I think he did a fair job with this film. Like it's a very small independent film. It's one you can find on Tubi and YouTube. We will have the link to the film in our description, so you can check it out as well. It's about 36 minutes long. I think on Tubi you've got some interviews and other stuff along with that. But it was a fun little horror film. It's about that dread as a child of your imagination just running wild and you don't know what's going on. And it does get a few frights towards the end that she really, again, is it her imagination? Is something really happening there? Kind of leaves you in that kind of suspense of disbelief of exactly what's happening. And I do love it. And I wish we would have been able to talk to him about it when the interview was going on because of all the issues, is that there's kind of a joke towards the end with the parents and stuff that I think it's always like the mom is one who's always worried about everything that's going on, and dad's just like, oh, huh? Okay, I'm just going to go back to sleep. Like,
right.
that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But that was fun. But I mean, overall, it did the sound really well. I mean, Zoe being a young child, I think, and just being in a small independent film, she did fairly well for what she was asked to do. Most of this film revolved around her, and got the grandma being super extra creepy. I mean, you can't have a horror film without a creepy grandma.
Of course, it's one of the staples of the horror genre, and it's in there, and she serves her purpose. But yeah, it's a fun take on a child's psychology and what's actually happening, because you not only have to deal with the shadowy figure as well, you do the whole monsters under the bed potentially, and a lot of the fears that people have when they're kids, right?
Can't hang your feet out under the covers at the end of the bed.
Can't hang your feet over the edge. You can't look under the bed. There's monsters there. Monsters in the closet. Don't shut the door, kind of thing. It's all encompassing of those things that you think about when you're a kid, and then you're like, oh, did something happen to my parents too? Like, what if they're, what if they're crazy too? Like, there's this little scene there with the mom too. Like, it's part of her imagination too. But it's a lot of fun, man. It's a fun short story that deals with all of this, like you said, psychological dread that you have with a child when your imagination's just, vivid and running wild like it is. And they do it, like I said, good job of incorporating sound here. There's a good job of music at the right moments when it needs to kind of help with the sound a little bit too. And I enjoyed it for what it was, for sure, because it's not a clean looking movie. It's got this gritty indie feel to it, which I appreciate. I think horror lends itself to that genre better than just about anything else that you can think of, as far as like, you want that grittiness, that that indie look. I love indie horror movies, so this was a lot of fun for me to check out too.
Yeah, because this is a small, just self-done horror film that was, solidly shot and acted overall. I mean, it's not, you're not looking for a big budget production with,
right,
top-rated actors and everything else. It's a small production that I thought they did well. I think it shows a lot of promise to Matthew and what he can do, especially with that sense of the building to the dread, along with the sound and the music and everything, that there's a lot of potential, and
Sure,
that you could see out of that you can see that shines. Are like, all right, this has got some good layers underneath it to show that there's a promising direction for this director going forward, and I'm interested to see what he does next.
Yeah, for sure. And getting to talk to him when we did was an absolute pleasure. He was super nice, super kind, had a lot of really interesting things to say about how he approaches, his craft. And it's always fun to kind of get in the weeds and talk shop a little bit with people that do this kind of work. And it's something that, if we wind up getting to talk to more people that, work in film, doesn't necessarily have to be actors. It could be people that work in other aspects of filmmaking that you'd love to just kind of pick their brain and let them talk about their passions a little bit. And he had fun, he was fun to talk to with that regard, and I really hope we do get the chance to go back and talk to him again, because he had some really fascinating things to say, and it was a good conversation that we had. So hopefully we get to bring that to you here in the near future when we get it rescheduled. But yeah, he's got an eye for, these types of things, and you could see the direction where if he were given the opportunity to make a bigger budget film and kind of expand on that, either you see the potential there. Like he's got a good eye for the genre, and it was really fun to see that come across in this movie.
It's always interesting when it comes to horror, especially we found from Horror Hound and also what we got to talk to them about before all the technical issues just broke everything. That it's really interesting to see the different journeys that directors and writers and everyone who gets into the horror genre, how they get there, like what inspired them to get there. Because we sat on an independent film panel at Horror Hound, and they all had a different answer of what exactly scares them and why they went that direction when they started writing and directing and working in horror films, because they either did stuff that scared them because they knew it was scary to them, or they tried to avoid that, or they just did Scary Grandma as well because they know everyone, loves Scary Grandma. But yeah, this shows a solid potential for stuff going forward. I enjoyed it. Again, it's a very short 36-minute film. Done, I believe he said, in his house and everything else. So it's one that we really just want you to go out there and support these small independent filmmakers so they can get out there and do more. They can share new and different ideas, and they can keep doing this, especially with how everything is in the industry right now. Like it's really important to support those independent filmmakers who are trying to get something done and make their art and their craft and stuff, because it's not easy, especially like something like this, like filming at night in the dark. It's really hard to get good lighting, get things kind of lit correctly in the dark whilst keeping it dark, but also being able to see what's going on. And I think you did a good job with that.
Yeah, and one of the cool aspects of it is the lead in the film is his daughter. So he did talk about something like the scheduling conflicts that could come with that. Obviously she has school and she has other things that, she's a young girl, living life. So, it's hard to find time to make it work too. But I think they did a good job of incorporating everything into it. And, typically when we do film reviews and things, we like to put a grade on them. We decided for like films like this and independent films, it's not fair to judge them on a scale like that, like we would for a major motion picture, like we do for the other big budget films that we go see. Cause it's a different standard as far as grading, because you're not getting the high production value. You're not getting the, all the other, more things that you can pour into a film that you get on the independent level, where it's not as high. But it's not as fair to kind of put it on a scale and grade it compared to those types of movies. But definitely one that we want to highlight and showcase here, that, give these films, like we say, we're all about giving independent filmmakers a chance and, wanting to support them in that way. And I think this is a fair avenue to do it, where we watch the movie, we discuss it, and give the links to it, and hopefully everybody gets a chance to check it out and let us know what you think about it. But yeah, I don't think it's really fair to really give it a grade like we would a regular movie, because it's not a fair comparison, right? It's like, it's unfair to them. We talk about the things we enjoy about the film, and hopefully you get that same enjoyment out of it that we did. And go and support it, watch it. The more views it gets, hopefully that creates better opportunities for, those directors to be able to make more projects and things like that. So definitely click on the links that we give in the description here in the YouTube video and go check it out. Check it out on YouTube. Check it out on Tubi. It's one that's definitely worth your time. It's a very quick watch. It's 36 minutes, like you said. You can watch it on your lunch break and at work, even in you can get through it fairly quickly. So definitely give it a chance.
But it's a solid little independent film that just go out, support these guys who are out there trying to make their craft and get things done with limited budget, limited time, everything else. Like, it really shows that there is a passion behind it, and they just need that opportunity to, do more and expand on what they're doing. And we do hope that, and we'll let you know when we do have an interview rescheduled with him in the future, because it's a really interesting conversation that we had that we wish we would have been able to share with you. But it was just, we got like every other word on the audio, and I felt so bad after we got it done, because just technical issue after when you want technology to work, it doesn't want to work for you.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It was almost our own little horror movie here, because nothing was working.
Yeah, it was high stress for us for sure, because we wanted it to go smoothly, and once we got it going, we're like, all right, we got everything done. And then when we got the audio back, it was just not up to par to put out or use. And unfortunately, we can't use it, but hopefully we get that interview rescheduled, because it was a really good conversation, and I hope we get to have it again and can present it to you guys to kind of shed some light on this independent filmmaker that, we had a lot of fun talking to.
So go support Mr. Sandman. It is on YouTube and Tubi. Again, check the description of the video or the audio podcast here to find out the links to where you can go watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely one worth checking out. But now I want to move us into our TV review of the week. So we have episodes 7 through 9 of Andor Season 2. And I'm just going to come out and say it. My God, this was an incredible 3 episodes. Easily my favorite 3-episode drop of this season so far. And some of the best TV I've seen in a hot minute, just based on the entire crux of the story. We're getting close to the end here. We got one more group of episodes next week that's going to conclude this series as it leads directly into Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which I'm excited to finally get to dive back into, especially after watching these episodes this week. What an incredible 3 episodes that we got.
Yeah, we don't normally try to talk beforehand because we want it all to be a conversation here about what we thought, but I text you after you watched it, like, this might have been the best 3 episodes of TV I've seen since Shogun last year, and that, Shogun was a 10 out of a 10 show. I think we haven't really been giving ratings to these blocks of episodes, and we'll give a rating overall, but I would give these 3 episodes a 10 because they were just that good. This might be some of the 3 best Star Wars that we've seen of like any TV episodes. Like these 3 were just the best Star Wars TV episodes that have probably ever been produced. Like they were dramatic. There was heart. There was sadness. I told him, because I watched them first, like I watched the first episode, then I immediately watched the second and third. And I'm like, make sure when you start Andor, you block out 3 hours because you're not going to want to stop when you start them.
Yeah, and it's more than true, because we get a lot of that heaviness and that depth. So, we get another time jump here. So we start another year later, where we have the opening of the Yavin rebel base here. So the rebellion is full moving forward now, and you're starting to see the groundswell of the uprising of the rebellion here, and we get a lot of things full force. Like you have Andor kind of Cassian's kind of out on his own here with Bix, and come to find out there's another character here that's been running with him that we didn't really see them get introduced to yet, but you get that interaction very early on here.
As we get Wilmon showing up at the Yavin base, and he ends up walking into a house, and that house ends up being Cassian's and Bix, so we know that they're there at the base. It kind of gave me Indoor vibes, his kind of tree house out in the forest there, but it was really nicely shot. But you get that he doesn't really want to tell him what he's been doing, because he's like, where have you been? And like, well, this and that, and I'm like, so what kind of missions you been running? Like, he's very, so we kind of find out he's been working for Luthen, and he's been doing a bunch of stuff, and he's still kind of been helping a lot with the rebellion on Gorman, and we find out that Luthen kind of has a job for him. They want Cassian to take out Dedra, that she's been a key part of everything that's been happening on Gorman, and he wants Cassian to be the one that goes and takes him out. And we get a lot of good dialogue and a back and forth. And I will say, especially through, not to jump too far ahead, but these 3 episodes, just the dialogue, the speeches, the way everyone talked, like everything had a weight to it. It had such a gravitas and an impact. Like there was like no words that were really said that didn't have something behind it that needed to be said. And because we've talked about the first 6 have been kind of slow. We get that it's been slow building. It's been fun and fantastic to me, but we can see a lot of people might have some problems with it because it's very slow. But I think these really paid off everything that they've been building up to in so many different ways. But we find out that the Empire is kind of moving forward with their plan on Gorman, because they mentioned back in, I think, the first 3 that they need to take this planet no matter what. So we'll try to do it diplomatically, but if it doesn't happen, we're going to take it out. But, Cassian kind of learns. You have 48 hours before the Empire's fleet has basically taken over the planet and going after it. And we do get to learn a little bit more that the mineral that they're going after sounds like it's going to be the power source for the Death Star. So that, which I don't know why my brain never put that together before. And I'm like, why do they need this mineral? And because you got the spiders with the fabric and stuff, but they want the mineral that's going, what do they need the mineral for? And when they talk about it's for an energy program, like, oh yeah, well now my brain finally clicked that it's for the Death Star.
Yeah, so you you get some light shining on that. You have, this need to stop what's happening on Gorman, but then you also have Mon Mothma's story where she's kind of at a crossroads here where she can't appear like she's still playing both sides, like she's having this facade as like this galactic senator who is trying to not ruffle any feathers while also trying to help the rebellion. And she sees that she's coming to a point now where those two parallel paths are going to cross at some point. Like that parallel path is becoming very perpendicular. Like it's going to be a point where she has to kind of cut bait and run. And that's kind of the journey that she goes with on in these 3 episodes. And you see her kind of weighing the weight on whether that's a good idea or not. Like she wants to finally do it, but she's kind of putting herself in a position to where she can do it without getting captured, where she can get away safely. And she can bail on her duties in the Senate to kind of go full force into the rebellion. And it's a real fun journey that she gets to take in these 3 episodes, because you get of a really good payoff. And we don't need to go through this like linearly episode by episode. We can kind of talk about the central themes of the entire thing. Like, I think that's a pretty easy way.
I have so many pages of notes, but I'm like
it would be impossible to get through the crux of every detail of these 3 episodes. But her story in particular has been this coming to this moment here. And, she has this, she has Bail Organa as well, who's another senator that she's aligned with. Obviously, we know who Bail Organa is as well and how important he is to the rebellion. But he kind of lays on his sword for her a little bit and is like, "Hey, I'll stick around. I can't bail, but I'll make it. We'll get it set up so you can, do that and get away and get to where you need to." And it leads to a really cool moment in the Senate where Bale kind of lobbies up a softball for her, like gets the time yielded to her so she can, make her speech. And it was one of the cooler moments that we've had in these episodes where she just gets up in front of everybody and just kind of lashes out like the real monster we need to worry about is not this rebellion, it's Emperor Palpatine.
There's so many great lines in that speech.
An incredible speech, and it's worth highlighting and going and watching, if not for anything, just for that. And it's just a really cool moment for her, and just the immediate aftermath of it, to where it looks like the people that she's working with aren't really on her side, and you have to get Cassian basically to help escort her out. And it's a really fun sequence and how that all plays out to get her away safely so she can go to Yavin and be on the base and help direct things there. And it's a really cool, really well done like sequence of events for her that happened in these episodes. And it was a real fun storyline thread to see move forward significantly to get her to where we know she winds up.
I can't praise Genevieve O'Reilly enough. Like, she is
amazing,
utterly fantastic as Mon Mothma. She delivers all the lines, even when she carries such emotional weight, and then when she's seeing stuff happen that she's not used to seeing, because even though she's part of the rebellion and helping, that she's the bureaucrat. She's in the background. She's dealing with the politics of it. She's not seeing the dark and gritty side of death and everything else. When you see it, you see looks like genuine reactions from her of how she would react to stuff. And Genevieve was just like, awards should be coming her way from her acting in this series because she was so good. And, but we do get a lot of different threads that are getting tied up or also brought forward. Like, I really enjoyed, because we know that the Force and everything is considered like a religion amongst people, and Cassian has a blaster wound that it's not healing, and so Bix takes him to the base to see somebody, but it ends up being a Jedi healer, which Cassian is against. He doesn't believe in it. He thinks it's kind of witchcraft. It's not actually doing anything, and you get a really intense conversation between him and her, and also the healer and Bix about what she sees through the Force and everything. And it's a really good tie-in to bring the Force and the Jedi and that kind of stuff into this realm of, because we're in between where the Jedi have been wiped out, but we still got a few Force users who are out and about there, and it deals with the more political, religious side of that, of she's trying to heal people using the Force, but he doesn't believe in it. And you're getting that kind of deep back and forth, because it plays a really important part in the final episode, because the healer tells Bix, like, he has an importance here. Like, there's something that I see. You can see anger and terror and other stuff and other people, there's something different that I see in Cassian. Like he's meant for something more. There's something deeper, and that there's a calling for him that needs to happen and be done. Like there's something special and important about him, and Bix takes that to heart. That plays a really big, important for a big emotional part at the end of episode 9 and everything. But probably one of the biggest, and like episode 8 was, 7 through 9 were great, but 8 was the pinnacle. Like this, we get Gorman, and we get that the Empire, who's put barricades up around the memorial, and of course their building where they run everything out of, and they start moving the barricades, but they move the barricades around the entrance of the building and leaving open where the crowd could come back. And of course the crowd come in and they're protesting and everything else, and we get an amazing, dark, deep, intense, crazy sequence that happens with this crowd, with Cassian, with Dedra, and especially with Cyril and all that. Like it was such, that episode, I was so glued to the TV of watching everything unfolded, because it, you know, if you haven't figured out, between 2 seasons, Andor is very political. It's supposed to be very political. And so there's so many different depths of, you know, you've got the media saying things that aren't actually happening. They're calling the crowds a very violent insurrection here and stuff, and they're protesting very calmly, and they're speaking in unison, but no one's attacking, and they're singing, and they're just being there. And you're seeing the dark side of empire and government and media and propaganda, and we're seeing all this stuff that did exist and does exist in Star Wars and exist in the world, and you saw it done in such a brilliant way, and also a heartbreaking way.
Yeah, it's a very heavy episode, because you get tied in with this, you get the story of Cyril and Dedra, who, you know, Cyril, he's been playing this, he's doing such a fine job of walking, like, is he really playing both sides, or is he really conflicted with his, you know, positioning here with the Empire, where he's, you know, he wants to be successful and he wants to be, you know, with Dedra, obviously. And you get the full exposition of, you know, Cyril finding out just how involved Dedra is with everything, and how he feels like she's kind of been using him for her own gains, and not really considering him in all of this as much as, you know, he would probably like. And you have this real intense conversation between the two of them where, you know, it seems like he's the only person that can break her, you know, break her spirit a little bit here. And there's a really intense conversation that they have where he eventually just like says, you know, to hell with it, I'm out of here. I can't deal with you and deal with this. Like, and it's a really powerful moment to where he
wrapped his hands around her neck in that sequence.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was heavy.
Oh, wow.
It was heavy stuff, man. Like, it was a real intense conversation, and, you know, he winds up leaving out and running out into the crowd of protesters too. And you're like, well, where's he going to wind up? Is he really going to betray Dedra here and really like betray the Empire and go with the Gorman rebels? Cause like I said, he's been walking that line of like, okay, he's infiltrated, but I think you kind of see him sympathizing with everything they're going through. So you're like, is it an act? Is he kind of, you know, is he starting to, you know, empathize and, you know, side with the rebels here? And then you get just kind of all hell breaking loose at this rebellion where, you know, all it takes is, you know, one Imperial Guard to, you know, open fire against a protester, and then all hell breaks loose, and you get this insane just sequence of events here where it's just this unnecessary slaughter of so many people, so many Gorman people. But, you know, the Gorman people get their licks in too, where you have the rebellion on there trying to fight back, and you get, you know, Cassian trying to get a clean shot on Dedra, and it looks like he's about to get one, but then you get Cyril coming in and attacking, like he's mad at Dedra, but he still loves her. Like, it's a crazy sequence of events, and I'm still kind of just trying to wrap my head around everything that happened. But man, that Gorman massacre was intense, insane, and just an incredible episode all around. Easily I would agree. That 8th episode was the best episode of the series so far,
and one of the best episodes of TV that's been put out.
Yeah, fantastic. I cannot recommend watching that one enough. And it's a really heavy episode, beautifully shot, beautifully acted, beautifully written, just an amazing story that they tell in that episode.
Yeah, because like Dedra and Cyril both, we've been wondering like, are they fully in on the Empire? Are they fighting back? Because after that sequence, we get Dedra kind of look very emotional, and we don't know exactly what's going on. And she gets a call from her boss, the higher ups, to move forward with their plan and everything. And she sits there for a little bit, very emotional on her face. Okay, what's she gonna do? Is she gonna give? Because we know she's been given the order to do something terrible, and she's sitting there and she's contemplating what to do, and she finally does give that call, which is to an Imperial sniper shoots one of the Imperial guards. So they have a small group of young guys that they just brought in to basically be cannon fodder, and they shoot him, and well, they of course blame that on the rebels and like all the protesters, all they're shooting and firing everybody, and that just starts the genocide that happens. But you do see the weight of everything that Dedra did, that she's still, because she's kind of promised that once this is over, once they have Gorman, she gets to go back and she gets to be a hero, and she gets to be free of being here, and they can live their lives out, and they can be kind of free of a lot of the stuff that she's been promised so much, if she goes along with it. And she's still kind of, I think, holding on to that idea, if they just get it over with, her and Cyril can just go back and go home. But as you mentioned, yeah, Cyril sees Cassian and attacks him, and they have this brawl and this big fight. But, and again, heavy spoilers throughout this.
Yeah, I mean, we're spoiling.
Cyril gets shot in the back of the head from the rebel leader. And it's such an intense, because he's got the gun on Cassian, and he's looking him down, and he has the potential to end him. But you see his heart coming through, and he's just not sure if he actually wants to do it. And such a powerful scene. You see the emotion, and he's like conflicted on everything that's going on right now, because like while the genocide and the battle's going on, he's standing out in the middle of the crowd, and he's just lost in his mind and his brain and the emotion. And you see, you know, him get killed, but it's like the very last thing that is said to him is from Cassian's like, "Who are you?" And he kind of just like stands there, and then he's dead. But we also lose a lot of the rebels. We lose the main leader's daughter, and several others get shot and killed. And you know, Wilmon gets hurt, and
it's heavy.
He's coming back, but we fully don't know exactly how he's going to be. And we get a line later in episode 9 and seeing stuff that he'll probably be okay, but we're kind of left with that open. But man, yeah, 8 was such an intense episode. That was so heartfelt and dramatic and action packed, and because you got so many explosions, you see the stormtroopers show up, and we're getting, you know, fights and battles with them, and the regular lieutenants and other people of the Empire, and the rebels and Cassian, and it's just an extremely intense, dark, deep, emotional, heavy episode. That it was just brilliant, like so well acted, shot, sound, everything they did in that episode was just unbelievably fantastic.
Yeah, and it doesn't, like, we can't do it enough justice. This is one that I would, even in a vacuum, just recommend just going and seeing without context this entire episode, just to kind of feel the heaviness of it. But as you're going along this journey, you start to feel for these characters, and they do a good job of building it. And that's part of that slow burn that kind of pays off here, that makes it worth it, because you care about these rebels and what happens to them. And, you know, you get this insane massacre, and episode 9 is kind of dealing with the fallout from that. Like, you get this powerful episode with Mon Mothma, with her, you know, speech at the Senate. You get this incredible, this is an incredible, like, spy kind of type episode that I think we get out of it, where, you know, Luthen approaches Mon Mothma and says, "Hey, your people that are trying to get you out, there's a mole in the rebellion already. There's a mole among these people. We don't know who it is yet." He's like, "I don't trust any of them. I'm going to send one of my people," and he's going to say a very specific phrase. Come to find out, the person that he's sending is Cassian. So Cassian is going on this mission for Luthen to, you know, escort Mon Mothma out, and he has to say a very specific phrase to Mon so she gets it. And there's this really cool, like, you think you trust some people and some people could not be. It's very, I think they lay it out very clearly who the mole actually is based on it. There's not a lot of mystery there, but, you know, it's somebody that Mon Mothma trusts, and it's a really cool sequence of him getting there and getting her trust and kind of fighting their way out and getting Mon Mothma ways to where she can get to Yavin, and it's a really really well done sequence. It's one of my personal favorites just because of the intensity. I love the speech that she gives. It's incredible, worth your time to go watch, and the fallout from that, where she's basically got to get out and get the hell out, like run immediately, because you basically blasphemize the emperor in front of the entire Senate, who are majority of which are very clearly on the side of the Empire here. So you're gonna be a target. You're gonna be someone who's threatening to go to jail immediately. And if you go to jail, you're so important to this rebel cause. Like, we can't have that. It's over. We're done. Like, we're dead in the water if you don't make it. So there's a lot of high stakes that are added to it that kind of adds to the intensity of the scene in this episode, and it was just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of intense stuff in 9 because, as we mentioned, we're dealing with the media who's portraying what happened in Gorman as the people's fault.
Right.
It wasn't the Empire, it's the people did it all. And you got senators being arrested because they're starting to speak out about it. So, yeah, Bale and Mon Mothma are realizing they have to be very careful. Like, if they do a speech and they bring this in front of everybody, because everything in the Senate is broadcast out across Coruscant and everything, so everyone's going to hear it, and they've got to be very careful that once if she does a speech, you got to leave immediately. Yeah. But we also get some really intense with Luthen's right-hand woman and Cassian have a conversation. Cassian's basically, and he's kind of building this, and he's been saying it before, like, after all this is over with and we have Mon out and everything's, I'm done, I'm out of here, I'm tired. And she just looks at him with such intensity, like, we're all tired. What do you think we're all doing here? Like, what do you think we're all sacrificing and we're all fighting for, and what we're all, she just tells, laid into him hard. Yeah. And it was like, all right, you go. Like, I mean, you can see it from both sides. You can see from Cassian, like, he just wants a simple life with Bix. He just wants to be free of all of this. He's been fighting and putting his life on the line. He's been having to be separated from Bix for so long and been doing so much stuff. But
I get it.
You can see from her side too, like, yeah, we are all sacrificing our lives and our everything, every waking moment to try to fight against tyranny in this empire who is ruining everybody's lives. And like, I want to stop too, kind of stuff, like, but we got to fight on. And it was such an intense speech that she gave to him. And that was just, because she's kind of been in the background. Like, she's had some great lines and stuff with Luthen and kind of talking to him about crap he does wrong and everything else. Like, well, you doing this? Or why are you doing this? I know we should be doing this, because she's handling like all the communications and the and we got that's an underlying storyline of there's bugs through everywhere, because we already had that within the art gallery, and Mon Mothma learns that there's one, and her office, that her driver is from the Empire and a spy on her there. And we learn that Erskine, her right-hand man, has been Luthen's guy the whole time. You get a really emotional impact from that, but we also see just how committed Erskine is to her as well. And when we finally get into the Senate and that speech happens, like, watch that speech. It is so powerful. It's really good. It relates to everything. Like, you can go to anything with it, but it was so powerful, and it's some of the deepest emotional, heartfelt stuff that we've had in Star Wars in a while. Like, we know George Lucas was never really known for his dialogue, that the I hate sand and everything else that he did in the prequels, that the dialogue wasn't always the cleanest and sharpest, but my gosh, the dialogue and everything they did in here was just so fantastic. Like, it packs such an impact with everything that was said, that you can see why a rebellion was being started and going because of these people. But you also get that emotional weight of Mon Mothma. Like, it's finally that time where she has to become the rebel leader, but she's not ready yet. She's not prepared. She didn't think it was going to be this soon. Or, it's been years that they've been battling, but she's been doing the political side of it. Now it's gotten to the point, like, I have to go be this rebel leader, and like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, she can't avoid it any longer, but really powerful stuff with her. And then you get some resolution here with, this story that we mentioned earlier about the healer, and understanding the weight of, Bix realizing that Cassian has this incredible importance. And she ultimately makes a decision here by the end of the episode where, she was weighing like I understand. I want the same thing that Cassian wants. I want us to be together, but I believe in the rebellion so much that I think in order for Cassian to be who he needs to be the person that they shadow him as being, as like the super important person to the rebellion cause, that she can't be around as a distraction for him to do what's necessary to win. So they have one final night together, and Cassian's all in on just trying to get this done and leaving, but he wakes up and he sees this message that Bix left as she left before he woke up. And it was this powerful moment where she was like, I love you. I want this for both of us as well.
But it can't be the reason that you leave here. Like,
correct.
I'm choosing the rebellion.
Correct. She's like, I'm choosing the rebellion here and it's really cool, really powerful moment for her. And she's like, hey, I'm going to go do what I need to do for the rebellion. You need to become who you need to be. And when this is done, we'll be together.
We'll find each other.
Yeah, we'll find each other. And it was a really cool, really heavy moment. But Cassian is understandably heartbroken by this, and he goes and runs and tries to find her, and come to find out that she's already left the planet and she's gone, and there's nothing he can do. And we'll see what kind of weight that has on him in these final 3 episodes.
Heartbreaking.
But yeah, he was just completely devastated by it. You feel for him too, because he worked so hard to get her back and get her back to being herself, and being away from her for so long, and them finally coming together and having this opportunity, and this is what he's wanted, and this is what he's working towards. And it feels like she's abandoning him in his time of need. So we'll see how he reacts to that. Obviously, we know what happens with Rogue One and everything, and who he ultimately becomes, but now we're going to get another time jump, and we're going to see where he's at, emotionally with this. Does he dive all in, which, spoiler alert, we know he does, because we know obviously what happens with Rogue One, but it's fun to see that journey, to take him, to see him get all in on this rebellion cause. And I think this is going to be the jumping point for that. So it's very exciting.
It was such a gut punch, because the night before, he's just laying it out like, I'm tired of doing this. I don't want to do it anymore. I just want us. I want us to go somewhere small and safe and just have a simple life and just be and exist. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've given it absolutely everything. I've given it my life, but I want to be done. And she makes a decision that because of that healer, and again, there's so many different points of contact between politics and religion and belief and this everything that it ties onto. And she ended up saying she chose a rebellion, and she leaves. And
heavy stuff,
man. Yeah, one thing that we didn't talk about with the Battle of Gorman there was that they unleashed the K2SO bots on the crowd, and so we see all these bots coming out and just brutally murdering people. But Andor and the Rebellions end up getting a drop on one, and they load it up in the vehicle and they bring it back. So when he runs crying back to the base to try to feel like, all right, Bix, where are you at, and stuff, that we learn more and more that they've been working on the bot to get it upgraded and get it changed. So we get a kind of, I think it was just mainly it's going to change the tone. We know what it's setting up as well, because we got a character within Rogue One as well, but we get K2SO is woken up, and you get the KX unit is woken up that they're going to use, and he just wakes up and looks at Andor and just starts talking to him. We get Alan Tudyk is back doing the voice of it. Hearing him again was fantastic. But we kind of got that origin in these 8 and 9 of how they got that droid on their side and how they reprogrammed everything. It was a really cool sequence, and really, but it's also he's dealing with Bix being gone, but also now he's expected to be a captain. He's expected to kind of move forward and do all this stuff and still be part of the rebellion and all that. And there's such great balance to everything that happened in these 3 episodes. Like if you thought the first 6 were too slow or anything, like, if you watch anything, watch these 3 episodes, because they were fantastic. They had such heartbreak, emotion, combat, action, death, intrigue, politics, religion, speeches. Like, it just nailed everything that it tried to do in these 3 episodes. Like, it had such an amazing payoff that set up for the future, but also paid off everything that Andor's gone through. And we still have 3 more. These 3 could have been like the last 3 episodes of Andor, and I would have probably been okay with it. But we've got three more, at least potentially 3 more hours to go with this. And they didn't show, because we talked about Cassian ended up getting Mon Mothma out, and she has these reactions. Cassian has to kill multiple people in front of her, and she's having a genuine reaction to seeing people killed, and they finally get her back to a safe house. And Cassian's told, well, you need to get back to Yavin, we'll have someone else handle getting Mon Mothma back there because they want a speech. And if you have watched Star Wars Rebels and know anything else, you can find the specific episode in Star Wars Rebels where Mon Mothma is taken by a certain ragtag group of beloved characters that everyone enjoys, which I was really curious if we were going to get that sequence in here in live action or not, because we've got pretty much all of them have had their live action counterparts done now. So I was really curious if we were going to get that. Maybe we'll get that in the last three, or they leave that up. All right, if you want to see that speech and we want to see how she got there, you can go watch Rebels, because we could get a little time for Ahsoka, but I don't think they're going to end up tying that in.
It was a fun wink and a nod for people that watch all of the collective canon for Star Wars. It was fun. I smiled when I saw that. I was like, I remember that. I remember when that happened. That's pretty cool that they kind of alluded to it happening there. And Rebels is actually possibly canon in the Star Wars universe, as it is. But it's a ton of fun, man. Like, this was so good, such good television. Everything had emotional stakes, everything had weight, everything had depth, everything had heart, and you could just really see, like, this is the series at its best in these 3 episodes. And it was just amazing television. We cannot recommend it highly enough. I love the final interaction with K2SO and Cassian.
Can you point that gun elsewhere?
Yeah, he was like, whatever I did to offend you, I apologize. It was just classic Alan Tudyk as K2SO that made me smile so big to end it. It was a good, funny, positive into a very heavy set of episodes where you get a little bit of that levity when you're like, okay, I love K2SO from Rogue One, so it was exciting to see his birth, so to speak, in Star Wars kind of explained here, like right where he gets converted and woke up. It was a really nice touch to end a very very heavy 3 episodes.
Yeah, these 3 were just absolutely incredible. Like the first 6 gave us a good slow build up to it, and we just got so much great payoff. We got so much tie-in to the Star Wars universe and Rogue One, but also with the Force and everything else. And like, it was just brilliantly done. I cannot speak highly enough about these 3, especially episode 8, 9 as well, but even 7. Like, all of them were done. Like, you could rank them on which ones was best, but as a collective, they were such incredible. Like, that's a 3-hour binge watch that I would do again, because they were that good.
Yeah, I definitely plan on watching it again. It's one that's going to have high rewatchability for me for sure. I may even watch it when we're done recording this episode again to, kill some time on a Sunday. But yeah, it was definitely worth going and revisiting. But you can watch all 9 episodes currently of Andor Season 2 are out on Disney+. Go check them out. If you're going along on this journey, please let us know in our videos and our audio descriptions and social medias what you're thinking about these episodes. If you're watching them too, are you getting the same reaction to them that we are? Do you look at them differently? We'd love to have that conversation with you. It's just such a good set of episodes that we'd love to talk about it for sure.
Especially 7, 8, 9. We'd absolutely love to talk more, because there's so much depth and heart and heavy and emotion, and just, it was incredible. If you watch anything else out of this season, if you thought the first 6 were too slow, come back and watch these 3, because it will be well worth your time checking out. And just like I told Josh, block off 3 hours, because you more than likely will not want to stop once you start it.
Yeah, it's one that you don't want to break up watching. Watch them all together. Watch them consecutively. It's more than worth your time to watch them in one sitting.
Yeah, because I would watch maybe one episode one day, another episode another day, another episode, and I started episode 7, and I'm just like sitting forward towards my TV and watching, and like, it's done. Like, oh no, I've got to go to 8. Okay, I finished 8. I've got to go to 9. Like, I had to watch back to back to back.
Yeah, it's a fantastic set of episodes. Go watch it. Go check it out. Come let us know what you think about it. It's worth every bit of every bit of the attention that it needs and deserves. Like, it's a fantastic set.
Absolutely. So coming up this week, we have an interesting mix of films in theaters because I've seen the trailer for one of these a lot, but I'm still not sure exactly what the film's about, but it looks really interesting. And that's Hurry Up Tomorrow. That's got Jenna Ortega, Abel, who is The Weeknd. You may know him by his stage name a little bit more. But it's a psychological thriller film that is kind of... It looks trippy. It looks like he does some solid acting. I think this is The Weeknd's first acting job that I can remember that he's done, and he looks really intense and fantastic that I can see in a film. Yeah, like it looks interesting, but I could not tell you a thing about what's going on in the story.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's his first foray into film. I know he's done TV and stuff, but it definitely looks like a stylized psychological thriller type film that, definitely one worth checking out for sure. I mean, Jenna Ortega is fantastic anyway, so she'll elevate that movie where it needs to be. But yeah, definitely one worth checking out.
Music's going to play a big importance in that, and we've talked about, like with Sinners, how important music was to that. Music already through the trailers has shown is going to be a very important.
Yeah, it has to be.
But we also get back to those who grew up in the '90s and everything. We got another Final Destination. So Final Destination Bloodlines is out. They've done a good job of marketing this. They've got box trucks with fake logs on the back of it going down. You've got billboards with people like splattered on it. Like, if you've watched Final Destination, you're expecting a wild, insane, over-the-top, crazy amount of deaths and doom and gloom. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they do it. You've got the late, great Tony Todd. It's his last film that I think this is going to be his last performance. I don't know if there's anything else that's coming out after that.
Yeah, I would have to check.
You could tell he was sick and everything in there. He's so much slender and everything else. So that's going to be a bit emotional for me to see him in there because, of course, Candyman, he was Venom in the last Spider-Man games. He's done a lot of voiceovers. He's done a lot of horror work and stuff too. And, we get to see him one more time.
Just an icon in the genre itself, but excited to check out Bloodlines for sure. I get enjoyment out of all those Final Destination films. They're so over the top, so crazy, but legitimately can have you... I still actively avoid those log trucks and things with what look to be unsecured cargo. Like, nope, not driving behind that. I've seen how this movie works. Not for me. I will get into the other lane and get around.
I do that every time, and my wife laughs because we'll get behind a trailer or a logging truck or a semi that's got open product in the back, and I will literally say, I've seen that movie. Get over and get out of the way because I've seen that.
Yep.
Nope.
And that just speaks to the effect that it's had on us in life. But yeah, it's definitely a fun one that I'm excited to check out.
We also have the highly controversial Snow White on demand this week. So you can go back in our archives to see what we thought about it. I didn't think it was as bad. It wasn't a great film, but it wasn't as bad as everyone was making out because there was just controversy from so many different angles. But it just crazy just how that did. But it ended up putting an end to Disney wanting to do these live actions. They had like Tangled that was in the works and a few others, and they said they're kind of stepping back and stopping that for now.
Yeah, and the internet sure loved our opinions on that film, didn't they? That was a lot of fun.
I would guarantee 99% of them didn't watch the movie, but still shared their opinion that it's a horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, God forbid you watch it and have your own opinion, but it's all good. That's one that's coming out, and I'm sure a lot of people will check it out. We'll see if the narrative on it changes as more people like get it on digital and watch it. We'll see if the narrative on it shifts at all and see if it's one that people will wind up coming around on. You never know, because sometimes when these things happen in theaters, a lot of people avoid them, but when they go to watch them, they're like, oh, you know what, it's not that bad. It's like, it was all right. And I hope that's where people wind up on it.
Yeah, and my kids enjoyed it, and in the end, that's what really mattered to me on it, that my kids, who it's made for, enjoyed watching it. And another one that was made for kids that you can go back in archives to see our review will be out on the same day. We have the Minecraft movie. Both of these will be dropping on demand on May 13th, so you don't have long to be able to watch those at home and throw popcorn and soft drinks all over your living room and do whatever you want because you have to clean it up instead of theater people having to clean it up.
That's one of the wildest stories in theaters this year, was just the absolute disregard that people had for everything and just throwing popcorn and everything. That was just wild. But what an absolute juggernaut that movie became. Like, we knew it would do well, but I think it even defied everybody's expectations.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected it to do that well.
Insane. Like, it's still doing relatively well in theaters still. Like, I know it's about to get completely, cleaned out for the next major family film that's coming up in a couple weeks. But that one. That one had a lot of staying power, more so than I think a lot of people were expecting. Another one is Sinners. Like I know we're kind of talking about, like, you talk about the staying power that Sinners has had. I think it had like the least drop off of any film ever from week 1 to 2. I guess from his box office, it goes to show, like, hey, give these movies a chance. Go see them in theaters. Word of mouth spreads. A movie like that had a lot of staying power. So, good on people for going and supporting those movies. That's
it's
awesome,
like the sixth highest grossing horror film of all time now as well.
Insane.
So it's really climbing up there, and it still has a good staying power. It's not dropping like a lot of these had. I'm interested to see what Thunderbolts did this weekend, to see if it had a good, because it was getting a lot of good word of mouth. You can check out our last episode to see our review and what we thought about it. We also got the name reveal that they went probably a little too quickly bringing that out, but the marketing that they did with it could bring a lot of people in it. So I'm really looking to see when the numbers come out to see how that did in its second weekend here.
Yeah, and showings that I was looking at showed pretty full theaters for a lot of showings for us around here as well. Like, I was considering possibly going and seeing it this weekend too, just to kind of double back and check it out again, because we're film nerds and we love to go see movies multiple times if we really like them, which I really did. And like, the theaters that I saw the times for were still pretty full, so it seems like it could have a really solid second week as well, which we love to see that.
Yeah. So we're gearing up for the Ballerina. We've got other John Wick spinoffs. We've got John Wick 5 being talked about as well. So now we've got a documentary that's been released on streaming called Wick is Pain. So you can check that out and see a behind-the-scenes look at how they did the John Wick films, which I'm really curious to look at, because we've seen some behind-the-scenes footage of them doing different stunts, especially one, I think it was in John Wick 4, where a soldier was tossed down or went down an escalator and stuff, and you got to watch it in full nonstop, and he tumbles all the way down and hits the bottom, and they yell cut, and they're asking him if he's good, and he's like, yep. And like, crazy. He took that was a long full fall down that escalator, and he was like, yep, I'm good. So the stunts in them have always been fantastic, so I'm really looking forward to see everything behind that, and if they show anything in Ballerina or anything else, and see if they maybe do a little in memorial thing too in that as well for ones we've lost from the John Wick universe. But I'm really looking forward to check out this documentary.
Yeah, I mean, we love the John Wick movies, so see a little bit of how the recipe is put together. Like, it's one I want to check out for sure.
So we've got robots taking over TV this week. So we have the 4th season of Love, Death, and Robots. So if you haven't ever watched it, it's an anthology of a lot of different stories that are told through different animated, and like, it could be traditional, could be different CG. It's got a bunch of different looks that is telling a lot of different stories. It's been a really intriguing, interesting series to check out. Season 4 drops on Netflix on May 15th. But another one that I've been really looking forward to, but again, it's on Apple TV Plus. I think there's been one trailer that's dropped, is Murderbot, that stars Alexander Skarsgård as the Murderbot. But it looks like a really fun, interesting sci-fi series that, again, Apple TV is just not advertising. So go check it out. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. That drops on May 15th on Apple TV+. But that's one I've kind of had my eye on after I kind of read about it, heard about it, saw that trailer. I'm like, this looks like it could be, because it kind of looks like it's a little bit of Chappie mixed with like some of those other independent sci-fi intriguing movies and shows that we've got. It looks like it's taken a lot of that together to make an interesting series.
Yeah, it's just another classic case of Apple TV not letting you know they have good quality programming on their networks. Just shocker, right? It's another shot for we'll bring the popcorn drinking game where we talk about Apple TV Plus not doing it. Also, by the way, did you know Godzilla -1? Minus color. There's your other shot. We had to get the reference in somehow. I'll just say the words. We got it into the episode, so there you go. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. Once again, we cannot thank you enough for your continued support. We're having a lot of fun talking about these shows that we love and these movies that we get to go see each and every week. Coming up next week, we will be reviewing the film Final Destination Bloodlines. Excited to get into theaters and check that one out. And we also got a big season finale, series finale coming up of Andor. We will be reviewing episodes 10, 11, and 12, the final 3 episodes of Andor. Andor, and we're going to take a special look back at Star Wars Rogue One. So now that we've got these episodes, we're also going to talk about how it ties in with Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So we both plan on not only watching the 3 episodes, but rewatching Rogue One and kind of talking about how it marries and leads into it. So excited to go on that journey and talk about it for sure. But until next time, I'm Josh, he's Brad, and we'll see you next week.